Convening, I asked for a recess to consult the attorney as to the language that needs to be amended in the resolution concerning the asbestos tiles and turf fields. Mr. Richmond, would you kindly enlighten us?
Yeah, essentially I think the board one of two options. The first option is to put it in the resolution, amend the resolution, put it in, that's contingent on the board approval of proposition number 1. The only issue with respect to that is that there's already been publication of the first notice, which would not include that language. As a practical matter, I think that there would be a challenge on that basis. The Commission
would ignore the amendment, or would ignore the problem with the amendment.
The fact that the first notice did not
Very good.
Most of the Commission's decisions say that would essentially, if the board were to amend it in that way, it would make it contingent right now. If you were to leave it the way it is, there is some guidance from State Ed that indicates that if the budget in chief fails and the supplemental proposition passes, the board would have the option not to make the capital expenditures, only authorization essentially. So you have an option at this point of either doing it now by making it contingent. A little bit of a problem there wasn't even for the publication, although I don't see that as being a problem. Or to leave it as it is.
Just to be clear, option 2, leaving it as it is, eliminates the whole issue or potential issue, even if it's a small one, with the potential of problems with an amendment after publication.
It would leave the question of what to do in the event that the budget in chief failed, to await the day of
It leaves a question to the board. Right. Okay. So ultimately you get the same potential result without the possibility of troublesome amendment. Okay. So, okay. Any further questions yet?
However, for the sake of transparency, I would like to make a motion to include an amendment to the resolution to add acceptable legal language that basically, summing it up, says that the turf field, me personally, I think that at that point, not putting in something is not transparent to the community. I think the community should know that if the turf field passes and the budget doesn't pass, me personally, I don't think that the turf field should pass. That's my opinion, and I would like the amendment I would like an amendment that says that.
Well, just let me address a couple of things. One, you're feeling that the turf field should not pass. You've said in the past that you've made promises to the community that you will never support anything like that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And with that being said, okay, I have made promises. Those are my personal, as you have pointed out to me in the past, and you like to bring that up, so I will bring it up again. That is my personal feeling. As a board member, I told people in 2008 that that would be the bond and the turf field would be something that they had a choice of, and that hopefully we would not go out again for at least 10 years. It's probably going to end up being a bond in 10 years. So, and that'll be up to you. As of right now, my concern is our budget. I get that people want a turf field, that's fine. I voted to put a turf field on the ballot with the bond years ago, because that is what the facilities committee wanted. So I have no problem with this. However, my concern is...
I'm sorry, you have no problem with what?
I have no problem if you want to put up in front of the community a turf field, that's fine. My concern is
So had you been here, you would have voted yes?
I don't know what I would have voted as far as the discussion is concerned. With that being said, my concern is that we could possibly fail a budget along with the turf field at the same time. Or people will bullet vote and just vote yes for the field and not vote on the budget. There's so many variables. And over the years, stranger things have happened in our district and others. So with that being said, my biggest concern is that our budget, if it does not pass, I cannot see the board saying yes to a or the community saying yes to a $1.7 million turf field when we may now need that one-shot money, if we're allowed to utilize it. I want it to be free, that money, to use it, not on a turf field, but to use it as part of, we're going to probably have to put up another budget. We're probably going to either have to make cuts or something to the budget. I want that money. Me personally, I would like that money free. Am I making any sense?
To me, or in general?
Well,
I can only comment as to me.
I'm addressing my comments to you as the board president.
You're making sense to me in that I understand your words. I don't necessarily agree with
and that's fine.
Or understand your point. I don't see how this has anything to do with transparency, whatever. And just to clarify one thing, it's not $1.7 million on a turf field, that's the state. If you read the proposition. But nevertheless, what do you...
Asbestos tile and turf field.
Right.
Okay, so I'll continue. How much is the asbestos tile? I'll make sure that I say it right.
Mr. Stuccio, how much was the asbestos tile, if you remember?
It's approximately $195,000.
Out of the $1.7 million.
Right.
So, $1.5 million on the turf field and $100-something thousand on the tile. With that being said, I'm concerned that we have a turf field with a yes, and we have no budget. I would like to amend the resolution.
And what the attorney, I think what the attorney just explained is that doesn't matter. The board can still do what the board wants to do concerning the capital project. In other words, if the budget somehow fails, an under 1% budget, somehow fails, and the turf field somehow passes, the board is not compelled to do the turf field, not compelled to spend that $1.7 million that you're worried about. So regardless, I'm not sure how it bears on transparency.
I don't want to make an assumption on anybody's vote.
I'm going to second Eileen's motion to amend the resolution.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Yes, Mr. Scarino.
I discussed, I don't think it's right not to trust the public. What you're saying is democracy doesn't work, what you're basically saying. You said transparency, but I trust in the public. And I think they're going to have a vote. I think they have enough intelligence to make the right vote on whatever way they choose on both items. I don't think we have to spell it out for adults. But when out there, I think we're making it really hard. It's a simple resolution. We don't trust in the public, is that what we're saying? We have to spell it out?
I'm not going to answer, I'm going to address my comments only to the president.
You have comments?
Do you want me to answer? I thought we weren't supposed to do that.
I would never tell you what to do.
Well, you told me.
I told you to address the chair, which is Robert's Rules of Order and decorum. If you want to address Mr. Scarito's comments, you can. You certainly are not compelled to.
Okay. It's not that I don't trust the public, Mr. Scarito, at all. I believe in democracy wholeheartedly. However, I have seen, we've all seen over, we've seen it all in politics, we've seen it all in voting. We've seen chads that we didn't think we were going to ever see. We've seen things over the years. I just want to make sure that our children's educational component is safe, and that would be the budget. The turf field is a totally different animal, if you want to put it that way, in my eyes. I'm looking to just make sure that we are not in a position as a board to have to, I don't want to assume, when I say transparency, I don't want to assume what Mr. Kiley's, Mr. Scarito's, I don't want to assume what your votes would be if the turf passed and the budget failed. Because we would have a choice to either do the turf field or not. So I am trusting the community then
Now,
more
trusting
so.
the board.
Just
That's fair.
Just to, I think, just expand a little bit on what Mr. Scarito said. The comment about leaving it to the community to make a determination, if for some reason the community as a whole determined that they did not want the budget to pass, but wanted the turf fields, who are we to tell them that that is, why would we be in a position, or why should we overrule that? There's going to be 3,000 votes cast.
I don't disagree. 3,000 out of 20,000 voters, registered voters.
Whatever.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I get where you're coming from. My concern as a parent, as a community member, as a Board of Ed member, as a PTA member, is the educational... You want me to move on? Okay. Okay. Call the question. My concern is to make sure that our educational programs go ahead. And I would like to be able to say to the community, you do what you want to do on either one of them. However, just know that if our budget fails, that we won't get the turf field.
I think that's the whole point of going out to the public for the vote, is you let the public speak. You let the public vote.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would have just a 6-person or a 7-person vote on the budget every year.
So then, that's fine. That's
And
your
I'm
opinion.
just addressing
Call
your
the
comments.
question.
Pat?
No, I was just going to say, but before you call the question, because I think unless there are further comments, that we have a motion on the table, it's been seconded, I think we should call the question. The only thing I would ask the board to consider is, at the start of this conversation, I thought we discussed it being contingent. I know that you indicated you thought we discussed it was contingent, so I just wonder how many people who were here that night also thought that that's what it was. So if we all thought that's what it was, I don't see the harm in putting the language in.
Well, the harm is that there's a potential that amending the resolution could affect its effectiveness. However, Warren, let me just say, in other words, if it's somehow determined that you can't amend it because the publication was already done, there could possibly be, and maybe a minuscule chance, but possibly be a challenge to the legality.
If the vote was a very small vote of 1 or 2 votes, it's conceivable.
Let me ask you just a question that may or may not solve this. Can the board right now take a vote and commit that if the budget fails, that it would not go forward with the capital project? We have that discretion.
I don't think you could, because I think you're going to
No, we won't.
No, you could actually decide to do that vote night, pending the outcome of the vote. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
You have to accept the results that night.
But so there's no question going into the vote. Could we take that and do it right now? And take that and say, I will not vote.
I don't think that would be a fun. If you took that vote tonight.
Okay. Ms. Grant, is the camera on?
It is on.
Okay, I will state on the record that I will not vote to go ahead with the capital project, the proposition, if the budget somehow fails. Does anyone else want to say anything? Mr. Crawford?
I was going to state the same thing on the record, but I do want to remind everybody that we decided as a board to not unilaterally decide that we were going to do this project without letting the public vote. So, you know, we're putting the budget out for vote, we're putting this out for vote, and, you know, I can just see leaving it so that we don't have to challenge the legality in the event that there was a close vote. You know, I am concerned about that. But I can't see any one of us, just knowing the people on the board and discussions we've had, saying that, well, the budget failed, but we're going to go ahead and put a turf field in and just be that irresponsible. So yes, if the budget fails, I don't think I'm going to go ahead and focus on a project to put a field down first.
You will not vote for the field if the budget fails. Does anyone else have anything to say in this regard? Mr. Kiley?
Last year, the windows, were they contingent on the budget? I don't know. So
No, it was the capital project within the budget, actually 2 years ago.
It was capital reserve funds. So it was a separate proposition, it was not
Right.
contingent on the budget.
The answer is no.
So what would happen last year, windows passed, the budget failed?
The windows would have been
Did
done.
we discuss that?
We didn't discuss that last year.
The point is good.
Good point.
Right, we didn't discuss that because that capital reserve was set up for specific items.
So,
Your point is made.
Excuse me, Mr. Scarino
Don't
has
ask the
comments,
next-
and I'll,
next
and I'll answer his comment. I have no problem with sports. I think sports are important. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful thing. Okay, I have a problem with a sport, one field being done. See, and you know what? Good point, Mr. Kiley. The same thing, I would have had a big problem, probably, if that had happened with the windows. I would have probably had a very big problem with that, to do the windows and not go ahead with the budget. So, great point.
I just need to clarify that point though. The funding source for those windows is limited to only a handful of things for which we can use that money. The funding, the fund balance
Correct.
is unlimited, and I'm just giving facts that are accurate, is unlimited for how the board can choose to use the money. So that's the difference between the reserve and the
There's a motion on the floor, can we please
I
vote on it?
think
I'm not going to stifle the debate.
I believe that was put out to the public as well, to decide on what those funds were for. Once again, trusting in democracy and the public and the community. Correct?
Anything further? Does anyone have anything to say for the record concerning?
Yes. On the record, I have no problem with the democracy or voting of our voting public. I have no problem that we have smart people. However, and I have no problem saying this on the record, I have seen the exit surveys. I looked over them again when we got them again this year. We received that packet from that bond and that field vote. And that is what is making me concerned. Because I read those exit surveys. And those people were the same people, maybe, that are voting again. And reading those exit surveys, it concerns me that people do get things sometimes mixed up. And that is why I have concern. I'm not looking to debate it. I believe in voting, you know I do.
Just, Ms. Mass, I've read those as well, as you know.
Yes.
First of all, two points. They were 7 or 8 years ago,
Yes.
and the majority of the people had a problem with the turf fields because the school district had found $5 million in a fund, and now we were asking for more money. This is obviously a very different situation.
Is it?
Well, I will.
We're finding $1.7 million to do a turf field in
This is
fund
not-
balance. It's the same money.
This was identified funds that came from identified sources, and it will not result in a tax increase, which is different than last time. Do you have anything else to say? Yes.
I hear what you're saying, you trust in democracy, but yet you said that it does not go the way you think it should go, then you have a problem.
Okay.
That is flipping.
Okay.
It either goes or doesn't go. That's the people's decision.
Okay.
That's fine.
Any further questions?
I would like to.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with transparency, it has nothing to do with trust. But we did, at the last meeting, when we had the special meeting, we did clearly state that our intent was to make them contingent. The language did not get in there, so I would support the proposition to put it in there tonight. However, I am somewhat concerned about Warren's point that this could create a problem down the road. So, as other members of the board have done, I would publicly state that I would not support a proposition.
Does anyone else want to make their public statement concerning that point? You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. Mr. Kiley?
I'll publicly state as well that I will not support the budget is not passed.
Anything further? Okay, so there's a motion to amend, was the motion to amend the proposition? Resolution.
Resolution stating.
Gotcha. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails 2-5. I will take a motion for an adjournment. Ms. McAloon? Okay.
We had brought up earlier that we get the raises, as far as bringing up the RFP on the computer services, when does that need to be done by? We don't meet that often, so
Is there a drop dead date that the RFP needs to be in by?
We have to submit to BOCES who we intend to use and the services that they provide that we intend to use by the beginning of June.
By the beginning of June, and we have, I'll ask Pat, when should it be done? We're going to go out. Should it be done right now? Can we do it at our next meeting?
You don't do anything if we...
Well, we have to make a motion to go out for an RFP, right?
No.
No?
I believe that we could get information from BOCES. We've got it all there with the BOCES. We have all the information. There's standard prices that they charge for services, each of the companies, and it's all disaggregated right there in the budget through BOCES.
What does administration need from the board? Direction that we want you to seek an RFP, an informal direction? Warren?
I think you should.
So I'll make a motion that we ask administration to go out for an RFP concerning the computer services that we currently have through BOCES. Do I have a second? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5-1-1.
And I'm going to state for the record that that is not a recommendation from the administration to this Board of Education, because we are responsible with the way we spend money. We are responsible in assessing the needs of this district and who is best to provide for them at the most reasonable cost. We will do as the board directed, but it is not a recommendation of the board, of the administration, pardon me.
Just to be clear, it's not the recommendation of the administration to go out for an RFP. We're not talking about changing providers, just for the RFP itself. That's all we're asking for right now.
I honestly do not believe it is something we need to do. I believe we are prudent in our spending in all of these areas. I believe we have enough on our plates that this is another thing to do that takes us away from the work we're supposed to be achieving. So that's where I have a problem with it. I think as a board, to be very candid, many of you have no idea how many times we have scrubbed services and looked at them and switched providers when necessary. We do those things, but that's the management of the district. You are the policy body, and you set the budget of the district, and then the administration, on your behalf, manages that budget. This is going another direction. This is starting to be managerial, telling the administration how to run the district. That's where I have a problem. I know what our jobs are, and I know how hard we work to fulfill them in the best interest of this board and this community. And I think we're starting to step into other people's roles in how a board is supposed to operate with their administration.
Just, again, this is just for an RFP, which we do, which we request all the time, so I'm not sure why this one is so
You request
expensive.
RFPs for things like services from an architect who reports directly to you, a construction management firm who reports directly to you as the board. They're your direct reports. Your attorney is your direct report. I understand that. The people who provide technical service to our schools for computers are not your direct reports. There's a very big difference there.
Mr. Kraft?
Correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but I thought there were certain services provided to the district that by law we had to go out. This obviously isn't one of them, because I think you said before that it's been 10 years since we've even gone out for an RFP on this particular service, that they were here in the district before you started? Was that the one you were referring to?
This is a service we didn't go out for an RFP. We're availing ourselves of the BOCES coasters, which theoretically, the reason BOCES has these coasters for us is that they negotiate the best deals, then we buy into that service,
Right.
and then we get aid on that service. You don't get aid on what you pay your attorney.
Oh.
That's a separate coaster. Separate coaster for your, pardon me, a separate RFP. Transportation is a separate RFP.
There are certain other things that we are required by law to go out every couple of years to get new RFPs on. This is not.
It's not required. We have a policy, you have a board policy where there are certain things that you go out and you interview and look at on a rotating basis. There's a policy that I do believe has laid out how often you go out to look at attorneys, how often you go out to look at your architect, those kinds of things. I believe you have that set in policy, and those types of things are right here.
So with having such an extensive budget, I mean, this is a huge business, for lack of a better term, to run. You know, just looking at my household when I run that, every now and then, if you pick a particular part of your budget to review, to ensure that you're getting the best, bang for your buck on a certain thing, how do you then go through certain sections of your budget to make sure that you are still getting the best value? I mean, do you then go through, pick certain particular sections year by year, maybe just to review certain things like this, things that you're not required to get RFPs on every now and then, just to make sure that we're doing the right things still? Because I know we've had this service and you said you're happy, but how do we know there? And I'm not saying that I've identified a particular problem with this service or any other service. I'm just asking a general question here.
The answer to the question is that I have a director of technology. It is his job to oversee that department, to manage the budget, which has been given to him through the budget process with the board, to make sure that we're getting the highest quality services we can get and the kind of services we need to get for the money that we have. If indeed, in his professional judgment, because it's his job, he believes that we're not getting the service we need, then he goes out and seeks, on behalf of the district, a more cost-effective or a better service. And then he would bring it to us. And then we would go to BOCES to say, this is what we need to do, this is the service we want. So, Larry, in a very real way, it's the way a district operates. It's the work of administrators within a district to look at those things and do those things.
In this case, was it our director of IT that chose our current provider?
He did not choose our current provider, but he supports working with our current provider, and I would even put the word wholeheartedly there. And if you were here tonight, I wish you were here tonight to respond to that.
Any further questions concerning the board's direction that administration go out for an RFP on technology, please? Okay. Mark, we need to vote on that? I guess we have to vote on that. Okay, so that's the motion. Did we vote?
Yes.
No.
Yes, you voted already. After the vote.
Yes.
Yes, you voted.
Wonderful.
Yes.
What was the vote?
It was 5-1-0-1.
5-1-1.
State.
Wonderful. So there is a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? We're adjourned 7-0. Our next meeting is May 5th, which is the business meeting and budget hearing. 7 o'clock executive session, 8 o'clock meeting.